You're in for a treat.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays.
2 West.
6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
We got new hours because we're nerdish.
And we're in our 20s despite our looks, so we gotta do things in the evening time over the summer.
Correct, but not too late because, as Levi said, we're in our mid-20s.
Not our early 20s.
And not our late 20s, the mid-20s.
So, yes, we're the Goldilocks of 20s.
That's right, I shouldn't have laughed. I gotta keep it cool, because this is our intro rap, where we keep things cool.
We're very cool, so cool we might want a dance break.
Hey, thanks for watching our dance break.
Now, back to the really serious stuff.
Like Brady.
And Levi.
And Brady, too. We're the 3 members of the Nerdish crew.
That was perfect. We didn't plan that.
Not at all. We don't plan anything. If you couldn't tell by this rap. That was the one thing we rhymed.
That was the one thing.
Which makes it a rap.
Yes. All raps have one rhyme.
We'll see you on 2 West.
Yes. 2 West.
6, 7:30 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Keep watching, because it'll turn into us, but probably not wearing the wigs.
Yes, and we'll be much more responsive to whatever you have to say.
You could ask us questions right now. We will not answer them.
Also, we take no responsibility for anything we've done in this pre-recorded session.
Yes. Any lost items, Nerdish is not responsible.
Right, we don't have anything to do with it. We're very different people in the present than we are from when we're recording this video. You might say we are the pupae of Nerdish right now, and in the future we will be the moths.
The
Because
disgusting gray moths.
Yes, those gray moths that you hear, they're like the bats of the flying community.
The wings are leathery. They're leathery wings.
Very leathery.
They're basically butterflies, but we hate them.
Yes.
They're the rodents of butterflies.
This is true.
Right?
Just like the ACT is the rodent of the SAT.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
Wait. Hello. What's up, everybody? Nerdish is now live. I don't know why this came up. Give me a sec. I'll try to make it go away. What is this stupid stuff? Okay. Lovely. So, we got a bunch of questions, I think. We can hear me? Yes, sounds fine. Yes, it's me. It's Levi with multiple eyes. Kuzi, it's you with multiple O's. Only one eye. Okay. Kuzi, we're going to do a bunch of your questions. Let's see. So we had a couple of yours left, correct? I don't think we did this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Correct. Hello, Brady's not here, Slayer Darth. It's just me and you, and Kuzi, and anybody else. It's everybody, but Brady's not here. So we didn't do this, correct? Brady is no longer with us. I'm going to resurrect him from the dead place he is tomorrow. He will be back tomorrow. You did not. We did not. Got it. That makes sense. Okay, so this, just looking at the question, seems like an exponents question. So you're going to take out your exponent stuff from your back pocket because you're cheating on the SAT, and you're going to use those things. What are those things that you'll just put in your brain and not forget? We're looking for the value of p. So let's write this out and see what we can do with our exponent rules. Do you know all your exponent rules, Kuzi? Because you're just going to throw those at this and see what happens. Because I don't know how to do this if it's not that. Nope. Yeah, 2n. Oh, I am doing some research for next year's summer A-level maths exams that I intend to sit. Oh, yeah, you sit those exams. Oh, you know what? I'm too lazy to erase, so I'm just going to make this smaller. There we go. Okay. So, p to the m to the 2n times p to the 2m to the n equals 16 to the mn power. Okay, so it looks like we're trying to line up these NM powers and things like that. Let's use what I assume to be the power rule first. That would be my guess that we're doing first. Studying seems to come easier when you actually read the specification to ascertain what topics the exams may cover. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Slayer Darth. Yes, it does. So, by power rule, we know that this will be p to the 2nm power. By power rule, we know this will be p to the 2mn power. Ascertain is a long word. Yes, it is. And we'll keep that the same. Okay. Now, let's put these two together. We need to put them together because we want the two sides to look alike. And I don't know what to do at this point aside from using our next exponent rule, which would be product rule. So we have the same bases. We're going to multiply them. So we add the exponents, and we get p to the 2nm plus 2nm power, which would be p to the 4nm power, right? So this is now p to the 4nm power equals 16 to the mn power. Okay, now we can do some logicking or maybe some guessing and checking. We know p is greater than 0, so that's a good thing to know. I'll, throw that over here. P is greater than 0. Yes, it is. Okay. Kuz, there are a couple ways to go from here. You can keep chugging along. Yes, it does, Darth. It does include factoring quadratics. You can keep chugging along with your exponent rules, or maybe you can guess and check and try to figure things out here. I think it might be good. Let's see. Is it 2? I think it is, because we have 2 to the 4, and we can actually see it even better here. We can unpower rule this. So if these exponents are multiplied, we know that we could write this as p to the 4th to the nm power equals 16 to the mn power. So that means that the p to the 4th and the 16 have to be equivalent. You could technically do that by, I don't want to do this to you. Yeah, you can factor. You could, I'll show you that at the end. So p to the 4th has to be 16 because these two sides are being raised to the nm power. So p to the 4th equals 16. You could do logs, you could use a calculator, or you could guess and check. It's pretty straightforward. And p equals 2. It has to be positive. Can't be negative 2. Although that could be an answer if we didn't stipulate that p is greater than 0. So the value of p is 2. Do you have any questions on that, Kuzi? Ah, yes. Technically what we did from here to here is we took the nm root of both sides. Doing that cancels that, cancels that, cancels that, cancels that. That's technically what happened there. Or you could look at it, and there you go. Okay. What do we have next? So I like this question a lot, but you're not going to be throwing trig at this. You're not going to be throwing other stuff. So p to the 6th times p to the 6th is p to the 12th. Yes, it is. If you multiply the bases, you will have to add the exponents. So do you know all of your exponent rules off the top of your head, Kuzi? I was wondering if you could help me understand how to simplify quadratic equations by completing the square. Yeah, we can do completing the square. Kuzi, I think we talked about completing the square, no? We can do completing the square. Exponent divided is subtraction. Yes. Yeah, so so the bases, if you multiply the bases, you add the exponents. If you divide the bases, you divide the exponents. If you raise it like we have in these two, or we'll do here, if you have a power, and then in parentheses, that base to the power is raised to another power, you just multiply the powers. So if it's p to the 2 to the 3rd, it will be p to the 6th. So that's product rule, quotient rule. You don't need to know the names necessarily. Power rule, and then there's the base raised to a negative exponent. Then it goes to the bottom of the fraction. Do you know that one with negative exponents? And then there's also fractional exponents like x to the 2/3 power. Do you know that stuff? Because we can talk about that now too. Might as well knock those things out. Also, if you are not Kuzi, if you are not Kuzi, and you're also not Slayer Darth, please feel free to ask questions. I'm not going to only do their stuff. And honestly, if you ask me stuff now, I'll put them in the queue, and then Kuzi will have to wait. for Kuzi's next question. I'm sure Kuzi's fine with this. Negative exponents would be the reciprocal. Yes. Yes, it is. And then if it's already in the denominator, then it hops to the top. Yeah. And it still works. Like, everything still works. So if you have x to the negative third, or let's say positive third power. And it's cut off. Right. Would that 3 squared times 3 squared, would that be 9 to the fourth? No. It would be, yeah, so 3 squared times 3 squared is going to be 3 to the fourth power. It does not equal 9 to the fourth power. That's not correct because, let's think about it. 3 squared is 3 times 3, right? And then you're multiplying by another 3 times 3. So you have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, that's 3 to the fourth. There are no 9s here. Yeah? Also, if you have, and you can use any of these exponent rules. So if you have, let's say, x squared over x to the negative 3. You could say, well, okay, this is a negative exponent, so I'm going to bring it up to the top. I get x squared times x cubed now, and this is over 1. And then, well, let's use product rule here, so we add the exponents, we get x to the fifth. Or you could just do quotient rule immediately. Even though it has a negative, it doesn't matter. You can do x2 minus negative 3, right? Because quotient rule, you subtract the exponents. So you just do 2 minus negative 3. 2 minus negative 3 is 5, so you have x to the fifth. They're the same. You can go in any order. As long as you follow the rules, you're going to be fine. But 3 squared cubed would be... not exactly, Kuz. Okay, so 3 squared is going to be 9. Yeah, it's good to use actual numbers. I'll erase that in a sec. Let's say... Wow, this shirt does look very purple. That's strange. It's very blue. In real life, it's blue. Yes, so if we have 3 squared... Okay, I'm going to get rid of this thing. If we have 3 squared cubed, you could do this any number of ways. You could say, well, that's going to be, let's do it in this way. We'll say 3 squared, that's 9. So now we just have 9 cubed, which is 270, no it's not. I don't know, whatever 9 cubed is. And then in this case, or you could do power rule, where you just multiply those exponents, so you get 3 to the 6th power. Either of these are the same thing. I don't know what the answers are, but that is the same thing. Does this make sense, Kuzi? You could do it in either of these ways. I mean, this is more proving it. I don't know. What is 9 cubed? 81 times 9 is 810 minus 81, which is 729. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does, I think. And then 3 to the 6th would be, it's the same thing. So hopefully I'm correct with the 729. So 2x squared cubed. Okay, yeah, let's just practice these. So what would x squared, okay, so x, yeah, let's just real quick do x squared cubed. X squared cubed is going to be x to the 6th. Now, what you said there, I'm not sure if you meant it. Hey, Tindo. What do you want me to do with that? 2x squared cubed? Help me with the first passage, please. Yes, let's do that. So we're going to do this. Tindo, we're just talking about exponent stuff. Then we're doing completing the square for Darth, and then we'll get to your question. You might have to post it again if there are too many comments in the chat, but we'll see. Okay, so 2x squared quantity cubed. When you have something cubed, when you have stuff cubed, and you have stuff, more than one letter or number in your parentheses, you can distribute this exponent. because this really means, let's do a slightly simpler example first. If we have xy squared, that's the same thing as xy times xy. And we know that multiplication is commutative. We can do this in any order that we want. So we can say this is x, y, y, which is just x squared, y squared. So you can think of it as when you have an exponent, you can distribute that exponent to the little guys in here. That's only if there's one term in there. Terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So x plus y squared does not equal x squared plus y squared. This is a super common mistake that everybody makes. These are not the same thing. You can distribute your exponent here if there's only multiplication or only division, or multiplication and division. You can do that. There's lots of multiplication and division. As soon as you throw in a plus sign or a minus sign, I guess I could do plus or minus here, plus or minus there. These are not the same. You do not get to distribute that. What you have to do here, because the way we prove this distributing thing is we just multiplied this by itself, right? If we multiply this guy by itself, we get x plus y times x plus y. Well, we have to FOIL this, right? So when you FOIL it, you get x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. That's what happens here. This is also a special case when you're squaring, the thing, and then you have the minus stuff. If this is a minus in there, it's a minus there, plus there, all that stuff. But remember that you can distribute your exponent if there's only multiplication and division. So coming back to here, we only have multiplication or division. It's just multiplication. Or we have powers, but whatever. As long as we don't have a plus or minus sign here, which we don't, we can think of this as distributing. Do not forget to distribute the cubed to the 2 as well, the constant 2. This will become 2 cubed, and then we have to do power rule with the x squared, so that is x to the 6th, which will become 8x to the 6th. Does that make sense, Kuzi? Technically, good, I'm glad. Technically, this is 2 to the 1st power, right? And 2 to the 1st power, then you're doing quotient rule, right? You do 1, that exponent, 1, times 3, so you get 3. So you could think of it as you're always doing power rule if you're distributing your exponent. You can think of it that way. But don't forget to bring it to that constant. A lot of people forget when there's a constant and then a bunch of variables. Like if you have something like, did you already do the question sent in by Willie? No. Are you Willie? Because we will do that. And I feel like that question might be quick, so we can knock it out real quick before the others. Are you Willie Cookie God, or are you Cookie God 69? That's a great name. Yeah, that's you. Okay. Willie Cookie God. I got it. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay, so I talked to Cookie God before the stream, so I'm gonna see if that question's quick. Otherwise, I'll call you Cookie God because that's your name here, and I will forget Willie. I'm gonna check if your question is quick, because then I can bump it up to do it real quick. Otherwise, I'll have to put it down below completing the square stuff and then doing some reading. Is that a reading passage, Tindo? Okay. Cookie God, how did you find the stream, by the way? How did you find us? Normally it's an us. Tonight Brady's not here. Brady's the more entertaining of us, of our duo. Which actually I appreciate. Because while I'd love to pat myself on the back as the funny one, it's also nice to get to watch the funny one. Much better that way. No, it's not. What was the question? For the first question, look at it as a process of elimination. No, it's not. The stream is quite boring today. Great, Tindo. Okay. Oh, yes, this is nice and fast. Ooh, and it's got a black background. That's actually very exciting. Oh, that's not what I meant. Okay, let's pull that up. Oh, boy. Thank you for defending my honor, Kuzi. Okay. Is there a question mark? No, there's not. Okay, that's fine. Levi is the goat. All right. So we have this equation, 5x equals 12y, and then we have another equation, y over z equals 8 over 9. Then they're asking us for x over z. All right, so there's a way to do this that requires you to think from a slightly different perspective than you normally do when you're doing normal math stuff. And what I mean by that is normally you're given a system of equations and then you solve that system for x and you plug it in for y and then you solve for y and you plug that back in for x and you do that, or you do elimination or something like that, right? But you're finding these the one value that can work for x and the one value that can work for y. But I want you to change your goal in your head, but you're actually doing the same work. What I mean by that is, in this case, our goal is to end up with an equation that on one side has x over z, and on the other side just has some numbers. So you're going to be doing equation manipulation to get there. Normally, you want to get to x equals something, right? In this case, we're trying to get to x over z equals something. So let's see what I mean by that. We have 5x equals 12y, and then we have y over z equals 8 over 9. In the end, we're trying to get to x over z, which means, I don't think you give me answer choices. I assume they don't want x, y, or z in the answer. That's my assumption, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. What we lack in this is a y. We do not have a y in our final equation. So we have to get rid of the y. Just like when you're trying to solve for x, you have to get rid of the y. Here we're trying to get rid of this y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this guy, or I'm going to change this guy into y equals 8z over 9. And then I'm going, oh, that was stupid. Then I'm going to plug in this 8z over 9 for that y. Just like you do normally with a normal system of equations. But our goal is not to just get x alone, because we won't be able to. We'll have x and z. We plug that in, and I'll switch colors now. We get 5x equals 12 times 8z over 9. Now, simplifying this, we get 5x equals, what is this? 4? No. Yes? 432 z over 3. Please correct me if I'm wrong there. I might be wrong, but I don't think. No, I'm fine. Okay. Now, we need to get from here to x over z. Also, I apologize. I can't see the chat super well because normally I have Brady and one of us is reading the chat while the other one's doing something. Can't do both super well at the same time. Just letting you guys know. So here, we have to get x over z. That's what we want on a single side. So we're just manipulating this equation to look like that. We're just trying to get it to look like x over z. So that's what we'll do. Let's get rid of this 5 first. So we're dividing, oh boy, both sides by 5. Let's come up here now. We get x, it's just x by itself now. X equals 32z over 15. Then we divide both sides by z so that the z's cancel, and we get x over z equals 32 over 15. And that's our answer. Cookie God, does that make sense? This is no actual math that you've never done before, but you're just manipulating the equation to give you a different type of result. You're used to having x equals at the end, or z equals, or y equals. Here, we have too many variables, so we can find what x over z equals, and you just have to manipulate the equation to look like that, the way you want it in the end. Okay, you thought it was sick. I'm glad you thought it was sick. I also think it is sick. I'm talking to Tindo. No, it's not. Yeah, no. I'm the less maverick of the two. Thank you. All right. For instance, 1A talking about benefits. So I'm going to assume that's the other stuff. Which is not good. Okay. So done with this. Do you think there's a lot of questions like this? There are some. Not too many. I would say at least one per test, sometimes two. Generally, they'll be on the no calculator section. And that's actually what makes the no calculator section hard. All right. So we're going to do completing the square. Yeah, Cookie God, keep asking questions. Put them in the questions for stream, and I will get to them as I can. Okay, let's do completing the square. Completing the square is not an absolutely necessary skill to have on either test. It can certainly help, but I'm going to go through it relatively quickly and then move on, because it's not the most important skill to have. Also, how is everybody doing tonight? You guys having a good time? How's your summer going? You're all, okay, Darth is in England. Kuzi, you're in New York, right? Or Massachusetts or something? You hate life. Don't hate life. That's ridiculous. Hi, Station Stream. How are you? Good evening. You're the one who got here like 2 minutes over our time that we're going to stop, right? You're in Houston. Oh, you're in Houston, Kuzi. Okay, cool. Ask questions in the Discord if you'd like. Okay, so we are now doing completing the square. There are a couple different reasons. Ooh. Something fell. Well, I made that hard to read. Whatever. Okay, completing the square means that we are manipulating our equation to make it look how we want, just like in the last one, honestly. And that's kind of what they're testing. That's what algebra is manipulating abstract equations. So let's say we have y equals x squared plus 3x minus 5. Can you do conversion problems? Like unit conversion things, Cookie? Okay. So we are trying to complete the square here because let's say the question on the SAT might ask, okay, give this equation in terms of give this equation where the coefficients are the vertex, and maybe you don't know how to find vertex, which is negative b over 2a. But or they might just say what is the vertex form of this parabola? Do you know the different sections on the math SAT, such as heart of algebra, etc.? Representing something in terms of another variable. Oh, like what we just did? Yeah, we can do that. Kuzi, I don't really ascribe to the way the SAT breaks down their stuff because I don't think it's a particularly granular way of doing it. Like heart of algebra is, algebra, graphing things, zeros, intercepts, factors, factoring, that type of thing. So I don't define it that way, but that's what that is. I came across the channel last night and caught the last 10 minutes before I piped up. I'm 36 and you got a 36 on life. That's pretty good. And never had math explained so easily that I could get it. So thank you. Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, if you want to ask questions and they're on the SAT or ACT, then I can answer them. Khan Academy is also good if you want to learn just random stuff. You guys should do a stream where you do practice SAT and explain what you're doing. Yeah, it's just super slow. But yeah, we might do that for the next test that gets released or something. Yeah, can you send me a private message about that just so I have that in my head so I don't have to remember it right now? You don't care if it's slow. All right, Kuz. All right. So, completing the square. Sorry, Darth. What we're trying to do is make something that's very easy. We're trying to find a perfect square. Oh, you know what? This is probably not the easiest one, and I want to make it a little easier. So let's say this is 8x here. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to separate this minus 5 because I don't care about it for a little while. And the first step is you're going to add, I should just write it. We're going to add b over 2 squared. And I mean literally add in b over 2 squared. So we're going to say plus b over 2, so b is 8, right? This is a b, not 8. So we're going to add 8 over 2, which is 4, squared, which is 16. We have to add that in. So we get x squared plus 8x plus 16 minus 5 equals y. And now, because we can't just add 16, right? This is an equation. So we have to do the same thing to both sides. Or I could add 16 and then also subtract 16. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to subtract 16 over here. If I were to add 16, you add the same thing to both sides, that's fine, but then I eventually pull this over, so I'm just going to subtract 16 there. Now, I'm going to only look at this part now, because I have just created a perfect situation where I will get x plus 4 squared. I can factor just this trinomial here, ignoring the minus 5, ignoring this negative 16, and I'll get x plus 4 squared. I don't even have to think about it. It will be b over 2. That will be what it is. So now I have y equals x plus 4 squared minus 5 minus 16, which is minus 21. And now we're done. That's actually all there is to it. Okay? There are some slightly more complicated situations. Like if this is an odd number, then you're going to, if this were a 7, then you get 7 over 2 squared, which is 49 over 4. So you have to add 49 over 4 and subtract 49 over 4. But then you're just going to get x plus 7 over 2, which is b over 2 squared, and then whatever you have over here, whatever's left, you have to deal with some fractions. Why do you subtract 16? I subtracted 16 because I added 16. So I added this 16 because I wanted to make this trinomial here so that I could just get x plus 4 squared. But because I added 16, you have to do the same thing to both sides, right? I can't just add 16 to one side. So I could have added a 16 to the y over here, but I didn't. I just subtracted 16 again immediately. So I added 16 and I subtracted 16. So I essentially did nothing. I added 0. Oh, okay, thanks to the semicolon, calculator y is 16. Oh, good. Understandable. I'm used to adding 16 on the other side during circles. Yeah, you can do that too. For circles that makes sense. For a parabola, it's not that useful because then if I added 16, I just have to subtract it at the end anyway. But for circles, it does make sense because you have the radius squared on the other side, so that will contribute to that. Cool. Hey, cabin boy. Okay, so this is completing the square here. You can complete the square with circles. You just have to do it for the x portion of things and the y portion of things. Just keep them separate. Where's my water bottle? Oh, boy. Yeah, so you can complete the square with circles as well. I'll do that really quick. So let's say we have x squared plus 2x plus y squared minus 3y equals 7. Okay? So we're going to do these two things separately. First, I'm going to take the x's. X squared plus 2x. I should have written this in another color, or in the same color. X squared plus 2x. And then I'm going to add b over 2 squared. So that would be plus b over 2 is 1, squared is also 1. So that's all I do there. And now I'm on to the y's. Y squared minus 3y. The b for the y is negative 3, but we're going to be squaring stuff. So negative 3 over 2 is negative 3 over 2. And square that, you get plus 9 over 4. And that equals 7. Now we have to add these two things, right? So this would be plus 1 plus 9 over 4. Make sense? So I completed the square twice. That's all I did. And now we have, so we had those two separately. Now we look at this guy, we look at this guy, and then we finish on that side. So this will just be x plus b over 2, which would be x plus 1 squared. And then here we're just going to have y minus, it's got to be a minus, 3 over 2 squared. And that equals whatever this is. So 8, 32, 41 over 4. So this is 10.25. So the radius is the square root of 10.25. So it's b over 2 squared. Yes. Of course I drink water. Look, I'm only superhuman because I drink water, and I'm not superhuman. Although, I started watching The Boys, that Amazon show. It's fantastic. I like it a lot. If y squared is negative, you don't have a circle. Yeah, sponsored by Amazon. Yes. I mean, technically, I'm sponsoring Amazon because I'm on Twitch. Amazon owns Twitch, and I am bringing in 7 viewers to Twitch. So I'm kind of a huge sponsor of Amazon. Okay. Not the most important skill. All right. Now we're on to Tindo's stuff. Tindo, give me a sec to pull that up. Tindo, do you still want me to go over that? Yes, okay. Could we do reading questions in the stream? Oh yeah. Hey Turtles. Yeah, we can do anything. Math is just the quickest and easiest one. I mean, personally, I like the English, like the English section on the ACT, the writing section on the SAT. I like that more than I like the math. But math just happens to be what most people are working on for a handful of different reasons, I would say. Reading is the most annoying. Ah. You go over grammar. Yes, what would you like to talk about with grammar? Great, guys. Great. Like semicolons. Yeah, sure. I want to see if there were any more questions in the Discord before you asked that, because we got some Tindo stuff. Oh, boy. Oh, these were... No. Baroque Lilies. Are you here? Who's Baroque Lilies? Does anybody know Baroque Lilies? Oh, dash is way more annoying, trust me. Oh, we'll fix the dash stuff for you. No problem. Okay, this is going to be a fun stream. Brady's not here, so we get to do English stuff. Good. Kuz, you asked a question. Oh, station stream reminder. Oh, thank you, station stream. All right, we got to do a Baroque Lilies. Oh, that's you, Turtles. Okay, so let's do a little bit of Turtles here. That's to remind myself. Could you go over singular and plural thing? Okay. So let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Sorry, what does YW mean? I knew this, and I'm very old, and so I don't know what that means. Yes, what? Stupid. I don't know what I said. You're welcome. Oh. Great. So we have... Do you guys know what independent clauses are? Because we should talk about that. Then we can do dashes. Singular and plural. Then we'll throw in a koozie question. Okay, lovely. Give me a sec, and I have to scroll up to find that link you sent me, Tindo. Here we go. Yeah, it's English. That's right. Okay, hopefully this seems slightly blurry on my screen. Also, I need to switch this. Okay. Bam, bam. Just give me a sec, everybody. Sorry. Okay. Is that good? It's not what I wanted. That was foolish. Fool's errand. Here we go. I'm sorry this is taking so long for me to be an idiot. Okay, here we go. Damn, it's blurry. Is it still bad? Can you? Okay, how legible is this for you guys? It's legible. It's clear. Very good. Kuzi, I feel like reading passages, it's random while you actually can study more on the revision/math part. And yeah, okay. So from what I've seen, the writing section on the SAT, English on the ACT, that score moves more than any other section, because everybody is speaking English a lot, and for the most part, it's your first language, or you learn it when you were very young. So you do it all the time. You're very good at it. And you just need to figure out the grammar and then how to deal with this test. The math, if math is not your strong suit, it takes a long time because there's an enormous amount of actual understanding that you need to have. The reading section, who knows? You escaped Vietnam. Good. Very good. All right, so we're doing this test. I don't think I've seen this one. Okay. Sure. Oh, yeah, this isn't terrible. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about strategies for getting through this more quickly, or are the two-part questions annoying? I don't want to go through. I can go through like most of these questions for this passage. I don't want to do all of them though, because that would take just a very long time. Cookie, you feel like the Khan Academy questions are super different from the actual test. Almost always it's different from. I would say whichever one's easier to study depends on you. It really does. Question 5. Okay, question 5. Okay, this might be hard for me because I haven't read this, and this is a detail question. And it doesn't give line numbers, so I might not have an easy time finding it. But let's see. The narrator characterizes his brother, Corrigan, primarily as careless, nervous, devious, restless. Okay. Yeah, you guys should diversify your study platforms, because then you're able to deal with things that you're less comfortable with. You can get really good at Khan Academy, and Khan Academy is very close to the actual tests, and it has a lot of actual tests. It's fantastic. It's probably the best resource for practice problems. But you should do them you should go to different places for all practice, because That way you will diversify your practice, and therefore you'll be able to handle whatever comes at you during the test. Yeah, Kaplan, you like the non-official test makers are not great, but they're not good for knowing what your score will be. Do not use them to understand to as a yardstick of how good you're doing or how well you're doing. Okay, so we need to find out about the narrator's brother Corrigan. Careless, nervous, devious, restless. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible. Give me a sec. Okay, so it's not fashionable anymore. One's mother in the way my brother and I had been. Okay, so my brother and I had a regard for my mother, and it's not fashionable. How did we regard her? We enjoyed each other, all three of us, and never so evidently as those Sundays. Okay, so why is Captain story time with Levi? Yeah, story time with Levi. Yeah, okay, so the test makers, the people who make these tests, they're not working for both companies. The Kaplan, Princeton Review, McGraw, whoever else, they're taking their best shot at what these tests are like. So their questions are just not very good. They're, as you said, they're sometimes way too easy or way too hard, and the way you understand the questions, it's just the questions are not well crafted, the questions themselves, and it's not your fault. So it's not a bad place to practice, but it is not a good place. It should not be your only place you practice. You must take practice, official practice tests. The official practice tests, the officially proctored tests that have been released. You need to work on those. They give you a better sense of where you are score-wise, and you're practicing what you will actually be doing. I'm not saying you shouldn't practice other materials because they give you more practice. Just don't expect questions to be exactly like that, but it's actually good to practice with stuff that's weird and also wrong for a couple of reasons. It's not a bad idea. Khan has an official partnership with the SAT. I don't know the people-wise who's making those practice questions, though. I assume they're Khan people, but they have access to the SAT's information, so they are more accurate. Okay. I'm just going back to this because careless, nervous, devious, restless. Okay, so that actually doesn't help us. At the beginning, that first paragraph says basically Corrigan loved his mother, right? With the narrator, they loved their mother, or they enjoyed each other. That doesn't help. Our house, we had a driveway, we crossed the road, palm trees. Corrigan sat on the wall, banging his heels and looking over the flat strand to the water. I should have known then the sea was written in him. That the sea was written in him. That there would be some sort of leaving. Ah! The tide crept in and the water swelled at his feet. In the evenings he walked up the road past Martello Tower to the abandoned whatever. Okay, so it seems like my guess is restless. What is the correct answer to number 5? I'm thinking restless because he's sitting on the wall banging his heels, and the narrator said, I knew there was going to be a leaving. That means he's going to leave, is what I'm thinking right now. That's my best guess. Nothing here says careless unless he's sitting on a precarious wall or a wall precariously. It is restless. That's what I would say here. Does my thought process here make sense? Oh, okay. So I see your thought process. Maybe. You could maybe say careless because in line 25, or 24 to 26, in the evenings he walked up the road past Martello Tower to the abandoned public baths where he balanced on top of the seawall, arms held wide. So he's on the seawall, doing his thing. It's not clear enough. That's too big of a jump to say that he's careless or something else, or devious. He's not devious. He's not trying to escape or anything, I don't think. He's restless. He wants to leave. Yeah, you can do... There are a bunch of different strategies here. I personally don't like reading the questions first too much because I like reading. So I like reading it and then going to the questions. I love the ones that tell you what line. Yes. Those two-part questions. Tindo, do you have any other questions here for this passage? Yes. Kuzi, you're right. Number 4. Okay, so we'll do that in a sec. Okay, a bunch of things here, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but you should not be inferring very much. That's true. Even on the inference questions, they need to be the most obvious inference. So don't try, and that's why do not try to convince yourself of the right answer. You're not looking for the right answer. You were looking at each answer choice and trying to prove it wrong. That should always be your approach. In the one I just did, I didn't take the time to read everything else, and they're one-word answers, so there's not too much need to eliminate things in this case. If you have trouble concentrating, Cookie, then it's a great idea to read the questions first. Don't read all of them. I would say, but you're trying to make it like the science section on the ACT, or like the writing sections, or you're basically, okay, I've used this analogy before, but you are, when you go to English class and you haven't read the chapter in the book that you're supposed to read, and then everybody's having a conversation about it, right? You're sitting in a circle, and then you're like, okay, so you're picking up on what these people said. You read the first 2 chapters, so you know the characters, and then you're like, okay, well, going off of what she said, because she actually read, because she's not a doofus, right? And then you sort of BS your way through. That's kind of what you can do here. You can take the most logical approach to these and make them less boring. If you're not a big time reader, especially on the science passages that can be super jargon filled, it's really hard to understand everything. So and the historical passages especially, I think. Let's see. I've started to look at the question, pick out the ones that make you focus on certain parts of the text and highlight it. Yes. I would also recommend, Cookie, before you go to the questions, read the blurb at the top of the passage, just to give you a little bit more information. Then you can skim, or you can go to the questions. And the two-part, do the simple questions first. Not necessarily the easy ones, but the simple ones. So the vocab and context require less understanding. The two-part questions tell you where to go. And the two-part questions, those line numbers, you read the question, go to the line numbers. And I can show some of that. So let's just do number 4 real quick, and then we got to do some more stuff, and then I can hop back to the reading if you guys would like. Okay, very good. How much time do we have? Okay, we still have a lot. Okay, number 4, yeah? Line 2, regard most nearly means. Okay, these questions. I already scrolled up because these vocab and context questions, do not look at the answers first. It is going to throw you off. You're going to get there, so don't worry about it. What's the word again? Sorry. Regard. Okay. We're trying to replace the word regard. Try not even to think about that word. But do not look at the answer choices. They can mislead you. You'll get there. What was I saying about the history passages? I was just saying that those can be super challenging, right? Because the reading level is very high, and a lot of them are the old Englishy things. Like if Abraham Lincoln wrote something, it's going to be harder for you to understand than some random dude who writes something today. That was stupid, but there you go. So reading the blurb at the beginning and then reading the questions tell you what they want you to focus on. So you don't even have to answer. You don't have to answer the questions, but you can know what they want you to focus on, and then you're applying what you're reading to that structure of, okay, well, they're talking about the rights of women in this passage, so I know what I'm going to be dealing with. Okay, line 2. Okay, so I'll just read the sentence. It is not fashionable anymore, I suppose, to have a regard for one's mother in the way my brother and I had then, in the mid-1950s, when the noise outside... Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so our regard for our mother. I'm not looking at the answer choices here. We need to figure out what that is, right? We need to use the context here. That's why it's called vocab and context. We don't need to know the meaning of the word regard, although it can help if we know all of the meanings. What is this relationship with the mother? That can help us. And that's what I actually mentioned it before. Later in the paragraph, it says, one looks for the chink in the armor. The leg of the piano stool shorter than the other. The sadness that would detach us from her. But the truth is, we enjoyed each other, all three of us, and never so evidently as those Sunday. Okay, so we liked our mother, right? So the two children love their mother. They like their mother. So that's their regard for their mother. Their positive, and I don't want to get into the meaning of regard because we don't actually need to know. But to have a blank for our mother, I would say love here, or affection, or connection that's positive. That's what I'm looking for here. So let's go back to the answer choices and see what lines up with that. Gaze, fondness, understanding, relationship. Gaze, no. That's coming from the meaning of regard. Do not use the meaning of regard. Use the context around that word, okay? It's something to do with the relationship of the mother, and it's very positive. They liked her a lot. So, I don't like gaze. That's unrelated. Understanding is also unrelated. We're not understanding the mother. Relationship is too vague. It's the right topic, but they gave us more specificity than that. In this case, it was that it was very positive. They liked her a lot. I like fondness. It's closest to love. Does that approach make sense? Vocab and context questions, always approach them that way. Don't read the answer choices. Try to build up your understanding of what that word, what the role of that word is in the passage with the context around it, then go to the answer choices. There's no point in going to the answer choices first because you're essentially doing you wouldn't do number 3 without going back to the passage, so don't do number 4 without going to the passage. Reading the sentence before and after, yeah, that'll probably have what you need there, but you might have to go a little bit further. In this case, there's no sentence before. You're trying to see what is the role of that word. If it's an adjective, then it's got to describe something. So that's something it describes. You have to be able, if it's describing a person, then you can't say, you wouldn't say, I don't know, I can't even think of an example. Never mind. But yes, you are looking around at everything else, okay? Do not use the word itself. Do not use the answer choices. They will mislead you. That is how these answer choices are designed. They're designed to like gaze and regard. That makes sense. You look at someone, you regard them, you gaze at them, right? But that's not the context. Don't use the word regard. It will not help you. It's going to throw you off. Okay. Let's do a turtle question. Turtles, are you still here? Say hello, and I will do a you question. But while I wait, I will get a drink of water. Hey, Fatality, what's up? Okay. Turtles, okay, oh boy. This is going to be super blurry, turtles, I assume. Okay, so these are more vocab and context questions, so I'll do one of these real quick. That's not terrible, right, guys? You can read that okay? We started streaming last summer, and then we took a break in the winter, took a break in June, and now we're back. We're trying to figure out the best way to do this, because there are 8 of you watching right now, which is cool, but there's no need for there only to be 8. So we're trying to figure out ways to spread it without pissing people off. Like I would love to have a channel on the SAT and ACT Discord so that people on those Discords can just put questions in that channel and they're not going to get answered by anybody else, and and then I just pull from those channels so that more people can see this. But I got denied the last time I asked for that because they didn't want it for their own reasons. Okay. Let's see. So there's another vocab in context. Line 34, simply. Okay, so let's go up to line 34-ish and let's start reading. I'm going to start reading at line 30. As a result, many of the icy objects that formed in the outer solar system were pulled inward by the gravity of the two planets. And some ended up joining the rocky asteroids that were born in the asteroid belt. Ceres would simply be the largest of these immigrants. Simply. Ceres would simply be the largest of these immigrants. I'm not looking at those answer choices. I would say that means simply is a very good word here. But here's what the context is. And okay, I'm going to read a little bit more from the beginning. So if Ceres formed in Pluto's neighborhood, how did it end up 2 to 4 billion kilometers away? Some researchers think of this thing. Nice model. Uranus and Neptune. Oh, as the nice model. Okay. According to this idea, known as the nice model, or Nice model, probably, Uranus and Neptune went rampaging through the outer solar system. As a result, these things blew up, and Ceres is simply just this thing. I would say just, maybe. Ceres is just this. It's not like a big idea. It's just Ceres is one of these things. It's no more. It's no less. That's just what it is. I would say just, which isn't a great word. So we have wholly, sincerely, plainly, and merely. I don't like sincerely. That's the one that sticks out to me as the worst because that has to do with emotion, being sincere. And that's not what we're talking about here. So I don't like sincerely. That emotion should not apply to planets or planetary bodies or something like that. I don't like it. Then, A doesn't quite work. I said just. It's just this thing. It's simply this thing. You know, and I raise my shoulders. You wouldn't say it's wholly that. All of it is this. Wholly means entirely. That doesn't work here. So I don't like A. And then plainly or simply. Plainly or merely. I think merely goes with just a little bit more. Merely is more, there's nothing else. Whereas plainly is generally to do more with looks. Like there's no other characteristics of it, right? That's what plainly is saying. Obviously, right? He's plainly mad or something like that. Plainly is obviously. So I don't like C. And D, merely. I like that the best. It was closest to just. I came up with just myself. And that helped me find the answer to this question better than the word simply could, because simply could mean any of these things. Cabin boy, you made a sad face. Why are you sad? Wow, I'm super thirsty. You hate reading. Stop hating reading. It'll get better. Okay. Ooh, yay. Okay. So we did a bit of this. You would have chosen D. Cool. There you go. The 2 PDFs you sent. What are they? Alright, I thought those were, I didn't know what those were, so I just thought they were the pictures you sent. So I'm not gonna download. It's wanting me to download those PDFs, and I hope it's understandable. But I'm not gonna download stuff that you guys send me, even though it looks fine, and I'm sure it is fine. I just don't want to deal with getting a virus on my computer. Yeah, screenshot would be better, and I'll throw you in here. Do we have more questions that I could also throw in the queue? No. Okay, good. But Station Stream joined the party. That's great. What are we doing now? Independent clauses. Okay. Turtle's a big hacker. Okay. Do you guys know what independent clauses are? That is super, super, super important. So if anybody doesn't know what an independent clause is, we have to talk about that because it's crazy important. It is the most important thing on the writing section of the ACT reading or English section of the grammar stuff. A clause that can stand by itself. What's a clause, Kuzi? Cool guy number 2, where is he? Brady is not here. Fatality, are you the one who thought Brady was Asian? Because Brady's super not Asian. He's super white. Brady and I are both very white people. Everybody says we're Asian, though. Strange. Nobody says that. Except for you. You are the only person I've ever encountered who thought Brady was Asian. But maybe that's what everybody thinks. Verb. What is it? Okay. Yeah. So we have that thing up top. That's what I'm going to say. An independent clause is a subject plus a verb, and it's a complete thought. It can stand by itself, aka a complete sentence. I'm going to write sentence here. It doesn't have to be a sentence, but it can be. Love you, Kuzi. Hey, you too. Okay. So let's talk about this. We talked about independent clauses. Let's talk about dashes here. Do a couple questions from the same test that Tindo sent me. Where's a stupid mouse, guys? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna look for dashes and answer choices. Give me a hot sec. Very, very warm sec. Is there no dash question on this test? That would be funny. That would demonstrate how important it is to know them. I may have missed one. I've only been looking at the answer choices. Oh yes, carp. Yeah? Did I cut it off in the right place? Yeah. Wow, my voice is super messed up. When I get to the math portion, I'm just going to sit there and cry. That's good. That'll help you. Yeah, you too. Yeah. So you can't mix and match dashes and commas. You can have a single dash though. So we need to talk about non-essentials also. You have an independent clause. If we say okay. If we say Kuzi, I don't want commas, I want dashes. Kuzi, my student, is a werewolf. So, we're going to put dashes on either side, right? That's how we separate this. If you're throwing in a non-essential element, some people call them appositives. Hey, that's not you. Exactly. That's why I used it, because I knew nobody in stream would be Kuzi. You could also use commas. Yes, you can. So, this is a non-essential. This little guy right here, my student. The independent clause is Kuzi is a werewolf. This is a non-essential. I call those non-essentials because that makes sense to me. You can call them appositives, but that's not very indicative of what they actually are. Non-essential makes more sense. So I'm going to say non-essential. My student is a non-essential. If you stick it in the middle of an independent clause where it doesn't belong, you have to offset it on both sides. You don't always have to offset on both sides if your non-essential is at the end. So if we say at the end here, dash mythical creature. I don't know how well you can read that. Now we have another non-essential, right? And we could use commas here as well. Comma, comma, this could be a comma. These two dashes are offsetting this non-essential. This dash here doesn't need another one because it would go at the end, but there's no more sentence. So you just put a period. You wouldn't put a dash and then a period. So that's when you can have only one dash. You just can't mix and match. So if this is a dash, this must be a dash, vice versa. But this cannot be a comma, dash, or dash, comma. Can't do that. This could be a comma here, could be a dash. Why would you use dashes instead of commas? They do not test you on this, but dashes are used for more emphasis. We loves English.
Yes, we do loves English.
Number 41. Where we got a semicolon in A? Okay. It matters. So it's a longer pause. Sure. Yeah. Dash is more emphasis. Sure. Yeah. Levi scares me sometimes. Yes. Sure. Very good, everybody. Everybody's good. So, I wouldn't think of it as a longer pause. You can think of it as more emphasis, but there's going to be a reason why the dash would be correct versus the comma if that's the situation. That can sometimes be hard. Colons, you have to have an independent clause before the colon, and then you can say whatever you want here. This thing has to set this thing up, right? So I go to the store. Yeah, the colon is like a cliffhanger. Dashes could be used in place of colons sometimes, not all the time. Because if you have two independent clauses, you cannot use a dash. That's wrong. It's not going to be on the test. It has to be independent clause, colon, independent clause, if those are the options. Okay? You can't separate two independent clauses with a dash. There are only 4 ways to separate independent clauses, or two independent clauses. A period, a semicolon, a colon, or comma fanboys. That's it. Wait, is it D? I don't know. Let's find out. The way to approach these questions. I'll leave this up for now. Whenever you see these, clearly grammatical / punctuation questions, do the easiest one first. A is the easiest option. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the easiest one to figure out because there are rules for semicolons. Don't do C. You're going to do that last because it has no punctuation, so it's not going to allow you to orient yourself around that punctuation. Commas are the hardest punctuation because there are so many uses. Dashes only have one use, so they're pretty easy. And semicolons are even easier than that. If you take out what's behind the colon, it sounds like a cliffhanger. Yes, but it can still be an independent. It must be an independent clause before the colon. I'm going to start with A because it's a semicolon. That's the easiest thing. Semicolons require an independent clause on both sides. If you didn't know that, you have to. That's the use of semicolons. There's no other use. It's just like a period. If you can use a semicolon, you can use a period. I know I'm just vomiting a bunch of information at you. I'm sorry. If there's a semicolon and a period and 2 answers, and there's no difference otherwise, they're both wrong. Because if a semicolon's right, then the period's right, and vice versa. So, A, do we have 2 independent clauses surrounding this? Let's read this. Scientists at the... I can't read that. I'm going to read it here. Scientists at the Watershed Protection Department determined that the best strategy was to add a second invasive species, grass carp. Sure, that's fine. And then... and then it just ends. Okay, so then the second independent clause would have to be to combat the first. That's obviously not an independent clause, so A is wrong. Now, we know A is wrong because the semicolon failed. Let's go to B because it has a dash. When can you just put a period? You can put a period when you have 2 independent clauses, so it's just like a semicolon. So I'm looking at B here. B would be a dash. So I don't love the dash because it looks to me like scientists at this place decided the best way was to add a second invasive species to combat the first, right? We're adding this invasive species to combat the first, which means grass carp, we're just naming the species, right? It's like my sister, Cabin Boy Cam, goes to school, or Koozie, my student, is a werewolf, a mythical creature. So we have that non-essential stuck in there. Grass carp is that non-essential, so we have to offset it by either 2 dashes, 2 commas, or 2 parentheses. We don't have a choice because there's a comma after species. That's the first one. So the comma has to be after grass carp. So I would say D because B would be mixing and matching dashes and commas. C wouldn't be complete, offsetting the non-essential on the right side. So it's got to be D. Sorry, Cabin Boy. I didn't know I said that out loud. I'm very sorry. So grass carp is a non-essential? Yes, it is. Would you say there is usually a comma sandwich in SAT answers? I don't know exactly, yes, they're all over the place, if that's what you mean. Can you use a colon instead of a dash before mythical creature? Feasibly, yes. I wouldn't do that. It doesn't really work for me because the context there is I'm setting something up, right? I'm not trying to set up a mythical creature. I'm saying Koozie is a werewolf, which is a mythical creature, right? So a mythical creature is to me, in my understanding of this, more of a non-essential thing. We're just saying this is what a werewolf is, right? If I wanted to say a mythical creature, I would say, I really want to see a mythical creature, the werewolf is the best, or something. The werewolf is my favorite. If it were Koozie, my student is a mythical creature, a werewolf, it's fine, but the context of this is we want to say Koozie is something. That's what we're saying here. That's what we care about, right? Versus the idea of I'm going to the store to buy fruit, That's a great setup for the fruit I'm going to buy, right? A hyphen it's not a hyphen, it's a dash. Dashes and hyphens are different. Or it's an M dash, technically. The rest of the passage wouldn't really make sense without grass carp, though. Yeah, so grammatically it's non-essential, but in the actual context of the whole passage, you need to, but that's why it's there. Grammatically it's not essential. 42, 43, sure. And then we can do some singular and plural, unless that's what these are. What would you say, 42, 43? Yeah, let's do 43 first because it's like 41, just so that we're still doing the same type of thing. The answer is D in 41. We have an independent clause, and then we have an independent clause with a non-essential stuck in the middle, put on both sides. Hey, that's right, Tindo. Okay. So, in 43, we have A has nothing in it, B has a semicolon, that's where we're going to start. Always start with your semicolons and periods. So, do we have an independent clause on both sides of the semicolon? Let's find out. Management experts needed to ensure. Okay, we do have a verb. We do have a subject that does that verb. It's not a complete thought, though, right? Management experts needed to ensure, they have to ensure something. So I don't think that's a complete thought, so I don't like it. And then let's see if the rest of the sentence would be another independent clause, and I don't think it is. That the grass carp population would not grow. That is not an independent clause. The word that screws it up. If we don't have that, then we could have the grass carp population would not grow. That would be an independent clause. We have the word that. No good. So B is out. Now, we have a dash in C, or a comma, or nothing. Okay, let's go to the dash. The dash means a non-essential, right? So I know you guys can figure out why one of these answers might be right, and that's awesome. But I'm going to show you, this is the way I do it. When I take these tests, I know exactly why every answer is wrong on the writing section. We're on 43, down there, and up here, sort of, 43. Thank you, Kuzi. So let's talk about this dash. There's only one dash in this sentence, which means it has to be offsetting a non-essential. If there's only one dash, the non-essential isn't in the middle of anything. So the non-essential has to be everything after it or everything before it, and then the independent clause is on the other side. So let's say the independent clause, let's say it's before the dash in C. So that means that we need an independent clause with management experts needed to ensure that. No. And it's not saying management need to ensure that. That's not what they're saying. So I don't like C for that reason, and even if we inverted it and put the independent clause at the end, we know that it's not an independent clause, or it's not a good one, because it's not non-essential, these management experts, right? We have to say that. That's what is going on. We have to say that. So, oh boy, Tindo, that's right. I like that. Why do you use an independent dash? Oh boy. I wouldn't call it an independent dash. That's a little bit misleading because we're talking about independent clauses. A single dash means that you have to have your non-essential everything after it or everything before it, and then the other side will be the independent clause. Because you're offset it, just like here, right? This non-essential, everything after it is or this dash, everything after it is a non-essential. That's what would have to happen here. It's not the situation. So I don't like C either. So on either side, yeah, you have to figure it out. Generally, the non-essential would be at the end, afterwards, and the independent clause is before. Doesn't have to be, though. So you could use a dash instead of a comma to offset non-essentials, but maybe not in this case. In this case, we just found that the single dash doesn't work. Now we need to figure out, do we want the comma in D or not? What type of comma would that be? There are 4 types of commas. If you don't know the 4 types of commas, we can talk about that too. Maybe tomorrow, though. So the first type of comma is listing. This is obviously not a listing comma in answer choice D for 43, so that's out. Is it a comma fanboys? No, that's out. Is it dependent clause, comma, independent clause? No, because we said that starting the rest of the sentence is not an independent clause. We said that earlier. So it has to be a comma that offsets a non-essential. So in this sentence, there's no other comma. So just like a dash, if you have a comma that you know, we've figured it out by process of elimination, if that comma is for a non-essential and there's only one, it's got to offset everything after it or everything before it. It doesn't do that here, right? You want this whole thing. And therefore, we end up with A being the answer. And A flows nicely, right? It does say management experts needed to ensure that the grass carp population would not grow. Yeah, they needed to ensure that. That's like saying, I believe that I am blue. I don't know. Right? You wouldn't put commas in here. What's a semicolon? Oh, yeah, Cookie God, no. You're blue. Okay, Cookie God, you get it? Maybe? Turtles. Hey, Turtles, are you still here? Tomorrow I can go more in depth. I can just do a full thing on uses of commas if you'd like. Turtle, you're here. Okay, great. I'm going to hop to one of your questions, unless you want me to do number 42 here, because you haven't done a question in a while, and you have several. Would you like me to do this? Say this test or say one of your questions? Say one of the two. Because when I ask you questions, I generally ask both sides, and then when you say yes, it just doesn't make sense to me. This test. You're? Okay, great, fatality. We'll come back to this, don't worry. All right. So we got a. Oh, you did it. Great. Oh boy. Yeah. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be a little hard because I also posted some math questions. Can you do those tomorrow as well? Yeah, absolutely, Captain Boy. We can do anything you want tomorrow. I'm going to leave the independent clause stuff up there. Fatality play next. Okay, so this question that Turtles posted is... let's just read the question real quick. Okay, so in passage 1, the author Beecher implies that women's effect on public life is largely... All right, these are hard. Can we summon our Lady Underground? You know, I don't know what that's referencing. Sorry. FaceTiming. You talking to me about FaceTiming him? Okay, so this is an inference question, which means that, sorry, it's an implies question, so you have to inference. Oh, FaceTime Brady. Brady's the lady. Is that something that you came up with him? I haven't been paying attention to that. This is an inference question, right? They ask you, what does this guy imply? Tell him yourself tomorrow. Yeah, go riot. Yeah, break whatever's in your rooms, wherever you are. Inference questions. These are where you're going to infer things, but you're not going to infer too far. You don't want to jump to crazy conclusions. It's still trying to eliminate answer choices. Unfortunately, I assume that we don't have a two-part question here. I know you're kidding. Fatality. I know you're kidding. Okay, I'm just going to read these so I have them in mind because we have to go back to the passage and it's going to be a little bit annoying to jump between them, I think. Oh, that's terrible. Does this get any bigger? No, it does not. Oh boy. Okay. So imply about what about women? Okay, let's talk about the important... it's fine, it's fine. If you could resend in the next 30 seconds, great. Otherwise, I don't mind too much. All right. This is asking us to imply about women's effect on public life. It's either overlooked, indirect, unnecessary, or symbolic. Okay, I have my opinions on these, but I'm not going to choose before I go back to the passage. So let's go back to the passage. We're thinking about how women's effect on public life is seen, right? Because overlooked, indirect, unnecessary. Yeah, well, let's see what Beecher says about women's effect on public life. Now, it said public life. This is super important. They said public life. Pay attention to that. That can help you get rid of stupid stuff or irrelevant stuff. It's not stupid. Could be stupid. I don't know. My voice is shot. Oh my goodness. I normally have Brady taking some of the work here. All right. Heaven has appointed to one sex the superior and to the other the subordinate station. Great. And so we need public life here. So blah, blah, blah. It is therefore as much the dignity as it is for the interest of females in all the respects to conform to the duties of this relation. But while the woman holds the subordinate relation in society to the other sex, it is not because it was designed that her duties or influence should be any less important. Okay. Great. Why is Tindo saying damn? Why say you damn, sir? So this author is saying women aren't unimportant to society. It's just subordinate. Apparently, that's what they're saying. Or all-pervading, but it was designed that the mode of gaining influence and of exercising power should be altogether different and peculiar. Oh. So, a man may act on society by the collision of intellect in public debate. He may urge his measures by a sense of shame, by fear, or by personal interest. He may so now we have set up a different thing, right? Women's effect, the way they influence society, is different from men. So now we're reading the man's part, which could tell us the women's part, right? This is an implies question. What does the author imply? So maybe they probably don't say, this is how women influence public stuff. They're going to say, they're different from men, this is how men do it. Then we can figure it out. He may urge his measures by a sense of shame, by fear, and by personal interest. He may coerce by the combination of public sentiment. He may drive by physical force, and he does not outstep the boundaries of his sphere. But all the power and all the conquests that are lawful to woman are those only which appeal to the kindly, generous, peaceful, and benevolent principles. Woman is to win everything by peace and love, by making herself so much respected, esteemed, and loved, that to yield her opinions and to gratify her wishes will be the free... Okay, so men get to do it directly, women are indirect. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see the answer choices again. What? Oh, you attached more. Got it. Overlooked. Let's read. Okay, overlooked because few men are interested. No, at no point does this passage say anything about men not being interested in women's stuff. Doesn't say that. That's irrelevant. Oh, it's a paired one? Wait, I didn't know it was a paired one. Did you just add that? Whatever, we can still figure it out. It's not. Okay, I didn't think so. So we disproved A. It's no good. B, indirect, because women exert their influence within the home and family life. That seems to sort of go with it. I didn't see anything about within the home and family life, but it did say that the men could do public office. They could use their physical force, whatever, that type of thing. And women are different from that. I think B looks pretty good. C, unnecessary. No, it said that they're just as important, so I don't like unnecessary, because men are able to govern society themselves. Nope, didn't say that. And then D, symbolic. Didn't see anything about that, because women tend to be more idealistic about politics than men are. No. Maybe you could say idealistic because it said women are kindly and nice and they have to be within that. But the politics, they're not idealistic about politics. It says nothing there. B, indirect, is correct. Okay, so, Tindo, I disagree with you. Yes, if it's going to be a two-part thing, one of the essays will be more or less in line with how society views women now, or racism, or any of the topics that, like, you know the answer now, that things were different back then. Yes. But it doesn't have to be the most positive, because this guy is not arguing for women to have more rights. I don't know exactly what he's arguing for, but he's saying women have the subordinate place, right? So if the question is, what does Beecher say about women, and it's women have the subordinate place, or women are really cool, the answer is women have the subordinate place, because that's what he said. So my issue with this question is because I focused on the word public in the passage, and it appeared to be in reference to the political sphere. Yes, but nothing in the passage said anything about women in politics, right? The only thing it said about politics was that it set up that men and women act differently, and then it said men can work in politics, right? So D doesn't work. Just because it mentions women in politics, it doesn't create any relationship there. And it doesn't talk about how women feel about politics at all. So you can't use that. Thank you. I actually did totally forget. Alta Ipsum is our sponsor. It's an app you can. It's free. Also, it's free for a month, so just get it. Yes. I can't do the. Brady's not here. He's watching. What's he doing? He said it last night. I forget what he's doing. He's going to a comedy show. Okay, this is Type Bond original wood glue. Brady and I have a tight bond. And this is Alta Ipsum. Alta Ipsum is great. You should download it. It's free for the first month. It allows you to, do tests. Like you can put in when you have a paper due, and then it'll set up a schedule for when you should work on it or study for the math or something like that. Thank you for the follow, Cookie. Brady actually invited me to this this show that he's at tonight. And he said, hey, I got 2 tickets to a comedy show on Wednesday. I'm really excited. Do you want to come? I also invited our other friend, but we'll flip a coin between you two, and you'll just choose. And I said, when is it? He said, Wednesday at 7. And I said, where is it? He said, I don't know. And he looked it up. It's an hour away. And then he realized, oh, so I can't go at all because I have to stream, because we have to stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, so he tried to invite me, which was nice, and then realized that I actually couldn't go, and he was leaving me alone because he wanted to go to this. So it was very hard, but I have this, and I'll try to remember the good times. Yeah, but skipping a day means that I don't get like the 70 cents I get from advertising Alta Ipsum. So I won't, No, I don't like skipping days. It's only 3 days a week, and this is important to me. So we're not going to skip. He didn't go because he has a... perhaps. Okay. Oh, gosh, we're over time. Yes. Alta Ipsum is good, though. Brady is cruel. If I get a good score on the SAT, I'm going to drop a fat donation. If you feel like it, that would be great. Thank you. Whatever you guys want to do. We had thought about asking, like, if you watch us and, like, actually use us, then every 10 points you get on the SAT, like, drop $1 for every point you go up, or I don't know, something like that. But you don't do whatever you want. The money's not going to help us unless you give us thousands of dollars, and I'm not asking for that. I would just, if you guys can spread this, that would be great. If you can bring people in, then we can help more people, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to make money. This is your first try. Good. So technically you started at 0. Just saying. So all of these points are because you've watched us. If I get a good score, I'm going to come visit you guys and cry tears of happiness the whole time. That'd be awkward, I think. You're just crying. It's going to come up and cry. If I get a good dropping out of high school, I'm not even going to go to college. That's probably a good idea. Fatality. Just so you know, you can always take the SAT. They will always take your money. So you could take the SAT, several times a year and, for the rest of your life. What's the culture like at Stanford? To me, it felt like summer camp. I'm from New Jersey, so it felt like it was summer all the time. It never rained. I kind of missed thunderstorms, but it was awesome. Everybody was really nerdy. I loved that, and I felt really good. I can be 40 and take the SAT. Yeah, you're going to scare the people around you, and you probably get weird looks, but yeah, you can take it. I loved the culture in college. It was super fun. Were you surprised when you got accepted? I'm 5'10". I'm just next to Brady, who's 6'1" or 6'2". I think Brady's 6'2", so I look very small. Fatality, I am not going to do any more questions because I'm tired and it's past time, but I'll do them tomorrow. I'm just kind of talking because it's a bit late. Yeah, we'll do them tomorrow. Sorry. I am. No. You do it yourself. I can, I'll do it tomorrow. Just remind me. Okay, everybody have a good night. If you like the stream, awesome. This is super fun. I love doing this. I will tell Brady you guys say hi. Or you can just add him on the Discord if you want to do it. You should add him on the Discord, but I'll also tell him. If you like this and you think other people could benefit, then, send it to other people. Let them know. That would be awesome. Because I have no, Yes, I would be interested if this made me a lot of money, but I'm not that interested in making a lot of money from this. You sell number 2 pencils. Good. Great. Ridiculous people. You're all ridiculous people. Okay. Have a lovely night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, last time of the week, and we'll do some more of whatever we want to do. I think we didn't get to singular and plural, so we can start with that tomorrow. I don't really mind what we start with. Just first one in, say hi, ask for what you want, and we'll do it. All right? Have a good night.